Havemann. He is the CEO of St. Vincent de Paul, has been here close to 10 years. In his time, he has written and implemented two nationally uh, recognized programs through the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. And today he is going to be sharing all the information about the new Polk County Life Services Center that houses the St. Vincent de Paul Sobering Center. Steve?
Perfect. Thanks, Randy. Good morning, everyone. How's it going?
Great.
Good, good, good. Thanks for taking the opportunity to learn about the important work that we're doing in partnership with Polk County and Broadlawns at the Life Services Center. So probably 8 years ago, Supervisor Connolly uh, started working on bringing a sobering center concept to Des Moines to address some of the challenges that Des Moines was facing with the overcrowding of emergency rooms and the jail population being, frequent flyers, and really where do you take people when they are, in the midst of addiction, especially with alcohol, and they're not necessarily hurting anyone except for themselves. So November 18th, we opened the St. Vincent de Paul Sobering Center, which, as Randy alluded to, is part of Polk County Life Services. Within Polk County Life Services is the Broadlawns Behavioral Health Urgent Care Unit, the Crisis Observation Center, which is also led and staffed by Broadlawns, and then our Sobering Center that we have been uh, planning with Polk County for about 18 months prior to open, how to implement that, best practices, visiting sites in Iowa City and Houston and Kansas City. So getting to learn from other people that are doing this. So happy to share that we provide a safe environment, confidential environment, and we really focus on those HIPAA requirements. And the ultimate purpose of this is not only to help people get to the treatment they need, but also to help provide a diversion option. So they're not ending up in jail, and they're not just being moved underneath the park bench or underneath a bush by police. Instead, they're going somewhere where they're safe, it's dignified, and they can work with one of our community navigators to find additional resources they may need, whether that's basic benefits enrollment, essential needs like food, clothing, etc., all the way to the spectrum of helping folks get jobs, provide prisoner reentry services, as well as referrals to addiction and treatment options. So, yeah, that is the short synopsis of where we are going with the Sobering Center. The great part about this is it's not Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, right? We're there 24/7, 365. We have on-site key security thanks to Broadlawns, and it's not police. Love everything the police do, but I know they don't have time to, staff the sobering center as well. So Broadlawns has stepped up and provided on-site security 24/7. It was a partnership with part of the Crisis Observation Center and behavioral health urgent care as well. So really, it's the first real access center in Des Moines, providing those crisis intervention services. So we're very excited about that. Another great part is we provide services to not only the individual, but also to their families. So if their families about out of the, into more data later, but about a third of our participants have come in from police, and the rest are either walk-ins or family referrals. And we know that sometimes families are dealing with individuals that are facing significant challenges, and they're dropping them off for help. Katrina, I see you have your hand up. You need.
I was clapping.
Oh. I
And
gotta
just
catch up on my emoji game, I guess.
no, and just let me know whenever you want me to advance the slides, Steve. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. Um, so yeah, we can go ahead and jump over this slide and go to the next. Um, so within the Sobering Center, these community navigators are providing resources for the individuals, for their families. About half of the families that have dropped folks off have chosen to engage with a navigator because we know that families need that support too, whether it's to find access to counseling or to find access to a food pantry or for workforce training. We always try to have a conversation to at least catch up and help people and share what's out there for support. Sometimes it's tough to ask for assistance, and sometimes folks are so trapped in the tyranny of the moment of having their loved one being admitted into the sobering center that they may not be thinking, oh, there's other services here that we can benefit from. Um, we don't provide on-site uh, medical assistance, but we do have medical professionals on site. We have a site medical director, an EMT, a paramedic at all times. And we do have, of course, during the day, community navigator and a site director. There's showers, there's clothing there. I'd say probably 80% of the individuals that we see need to access our clothing pantry on the way out after they depart. And the majority of them choose to access a shower as well to either help with sobriety, clarity, or if they're struggling with being unhoused, getting cleaned up as well. So some basic needs there. We do not treat this as an alternative to a homeless shelter. We treat this as a crisis intervention. So inevitably, we're going to have some challenges around that, but that's why we only provide light food and water, and then clothes and those sources. So you can go ahead and jump to the next slide, please. So in the partnership with area police, we partner with any police department within Polk County and some of the county police departments outside of Polk, especially in Dallas and Warren, have chosen to get involved as well. And I know the city of Des Moines and the Polk County supervisors are working out what that relationship looks like. But we've had 138 individuals to date dropped off by Des Moines PD or surrounding PD. Of course, the vast majority from Des Moines. If you're familiar with the neighborhood at 1914 Carpenter, pretty close to Drake, pretty close to MLK, pretty close to a variety of great people and some challenges our city faces as well. So the county was really looking at, we use GIS mapping, and we were really looking at the heat map of where arrests were being made for around these services being provided. And within the three surrounding zip codes, I mean, almost if you dropped a pin right on 1914 Carpenter, those three surrounding zip codes really had the biggest amount of referrals and challenges and issues and arrests regarding these key services. So it was really a great opportunity to fill an unmet need within the community. We can jump to the next slide, please. So we do not work with minors. They need to be at least 18 years old. Applied behavioral health is there for under 18. They can't be violent or harming or threatening to harm anyone. We have had a couple little hiccups, people, you know, with bomb threats and, some violence and destruction of property. And, that's part of the territory. Thankfully, we've been able to resolve those issues relatively peacefully and, without anyone getting harmed. So far, we're about 5 months into this project, and things have gone just as anticipated. We have a great team of EMTs, security paramedics, and a great medical director and assisting folks and making sure that their vitals and their medical assessments are regularly conducted and that they're safe and that their blood sugar is not spiking or their BAC isn't dropping to a point where they're seizing if they're used to operating at a higher BAC um, than the 0.08, which is legal. We do run into a lot of folks that they're used to operating at a BAC of, 0.2. And once they're dropping down to that 0.06, 0.07, some of them have had challenges with seizures and different things. So we try to be very mindful and very cognizant of that in their process. So it's frequent vitals and assessments. And typical stay, we say 4 to 6 hours. I'd say the typical stay is right at that 6 hour mark. Help people get in. And the great part is we don't just, okay, you're sober, good luck. Our community navigator meets with them at entry and at exit. And then we do provide transportation via either Uber, Lyft, or cab back to a safe place for them. If whether that's home, a family's home, a friend's home, we do ensure they get back to their place of origin. So, so they're taken care of that way. We can jump to the next slide, please. We can help about 10 people at a time. We've only been full once. That was on Thanksgiving Day. Sadly, we do have the option to flex up to about 15 on a given day if necessary. We don't have beds or cots in there. We do have Jerry chairs, which are the medically covered and preventative chairs that are easy to clean. And they recline at a decent angle, but not enough where you're going to want to sleep there for 20 hours, right? And then the actual facility itself has about 10 of these chairs spaced out around the room for some distancing, for some quiet. And there is actually 2 drain troughs that run down the middle of the floor for issues if people become sick or begin to seize. And we have built-in hose in the wall and for cleanup. I can't say enough good about the quality of our medical, the EMTs, the paramedics that are there providing those hands-on assistance and keeping everything clean and sanitized and dignified. So that's going in the right direction as well. The whole purpose of this is no stigma, non-judgmental care. And you're there, you're safe, you're welcome. It's not going to go on your criminal record unless we do need to engage the authorities again, i.e., an individual, threatening a bomb or things like that. So it is a great diversion opportunity. We've seen individuals, we've seen freshmen from Drake, we've seen professionals from large organizations that are having a bad night or going through divorce, or we've even had one individual that had a relapse on a flight. He'd been sober for 21 years and he relapsed on a flight from Seattle to Des Moines, and PD ended up bringing him to the sobering center, and his wife flew into Des Moines and flew back with him. And so it's not, I think a lot of people have the connotation that, we're just helping folks that are walking in off the street, and we absolutely are. But about 40% of Central Iowans admitted to drinking during work hours during the pandemic. So if 40% of us are admitting it, that number is markedly higher. So that sort of gives a snapshot as to the need for something like this. We can go ahead and jump to the next slide, please. So since our November 18 open, we've had 535 guests come through our front doors. And November, December, it was pretty quiet because folks didn't know about us. Folks weren't sure what to make of us. Oh, they're new, are they with the government? They're here to help. What's the real purpose of this center? And I think over time, we've been able to build up credibility, not only with police, but with the local neighborhood, fire departments, and individuals that are struggling with substance use and addiction, that this is a safe place, a dignified space, a place where they can get crisis services they need and return home. And they're going to get that follow-up call to help them, an ongoing follow-up calls to help them move to the next level. 161 guests have been brought in by the police or sheriff department. 138 of those have been police. And we've had an increase in poly intoxication. So we're seeing an average of, about 3 substances per individual. It's, typically alcohol, then it's typically cannabis, and then one of the others, whether it's opioids, cocaine, meth. We're seeing a variety there, and that's all based on self-disclosure. We do test BAC, but we're not doing, drug tests upon entry. So we can go ahead and jump to the next slide, please. So the community navigators, we're actually going to be moving to having an overnight navigator as well. We have a full-time navigator that's there from 9 to 6:30 every day. And we're going to be having an overnight navigator join us, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. And that individual will be there from 7 p.m. Until 6 a.m. the next morning. And really the purpose of that is we know there's not a lot of other services to refer to, but that way there's someone that individuals can meet with. We can begin to collect information and begin a follow-up process, because we know that some folks aren't going to be seeking help during the traditional hours, and maybe outreaching at 8 or 9 o'clock at night is a better time to get a hold of them. So we had a kind of a lesson learned on that. We started with 2 navigators during the day and really found that, one during the day and one overnight is going to be the better approach. So that's what we're in the process of moving towards right now. And we've seen an incredible number of guests that are seeking that additional assistance. And folks are really, I'd say that what they're really looking for, that they're looking for employment, they're looking for basic needs. And, a large portion of them are saying, I'm hitting rock bottom. I don't want to do this anymore. What are my choices? And they may not be familiar with Powell or with Bridges or, other community solutions. So we can be that conduit for them as well. We can jump to the next slide, please. So some success stories here. We've had probably, I'd say, like I shared, a large percentage of the individuals we're serving are looking for additional support. This is a little bit more detailed information. So we did have an individual come in, no family, no friends in Iowa. They were really just looking for support. They had turned to significant drinking over the last 4 to 5 months. And now we found out that this individual's in stable housing, reconnecting with family, and they've been clean and sober. And she has a daughter out of state, and she's actually re-engaged with her. She's only 10 years old, and has been able to re-engage with her, and we've connected her with a service organization in town she's going to be going to residential treatment and hopefully reunifying with her daughter 6 to 9 months down the road. So lots of great success stories. We can jump to the next one. Here's another success story. Heavy alcohol use, police were contacted. The individual was brought to the sobering center rather than to jail. The family brought the guest in personally, which is very common, and spoke with our navigators about treatment options and referrals. Then we were able to find a successful program to focus on sobriety and future goals. The following email was sent. So we've been in contact with this individual for over a month now, about every 3 days. And so when this guest came to us, they were one of the ones that said, I'm hitting rock bottom. I need help. I don't know what to do. The family didn't know what to do. And so that's where we've been able to step in, provide these services. And, unfortunately, not every individual we serve, not every guest is going to have the same outcomes, but we know that we can begin to change the curve of individuals' lives. So when they're ready, they can they can access these services. We can jump to the next slide, please. So here's my contact information. I would love, we don't give public tours for HIPAA reasons and safety concerns and security concerns, but I'd be happy to have a call to come visit with any of you over coffee to show you around one of our other facilities and help you learn and educate more about the Sobering Center and who might be an appropriate referral. So that went a few minutes quicker than anticipated. I saw a few items come through in the chat as well. I'll open this up for questions and hopefully we can have a good conversation. The youngest guest we've served has been 18. The oldest guest we've served has been 74. Just for an idea of scope. Looks like we've got what is your protocol regarding law enforcement involvement, if any, should an individual bring contraband such as a baggie of meth or services limited to the residents of Polk County? So if individuals do come in with drugs or a gun or a weapon, we actually have lockers where everything is stored. That those items are turned into broadband security. If they're not legal, broadband security hands them over to police and it's treated with amnesty. So if I'm admitted to the sobering center, I've got meth on me. The broadband security will secure that and call the police and they'll come dispose of it, but that individual will not get charged unless there's something that threatens the safety of others along that line. Are services limited to residents of Polk County? No, we've had plenty of folks that have come in from Dallas, Warren. We've had a couple from Jasper. We've had a couple from Boone, a couple from Marion. Of course, it's funded by Polk County and Des Moines City Council. So I'm sure I'll leave it to them to work out the funding streams. We're just here to provide services. But I'm sure at some point, that'll be a conversation.
Steve, there was one question. Are there future plans of getting to a point where they don't have to have police contact in order to come through the door?
They already don't have to have police contact. Any of us could leave this session and walk through the doors right now and ask for help. You don't even have to be legally intoxicated. If you come through the doors, you ask for help. I'm struggling with substance use. We will meet with you. They're welcome to a chair until we can verify sobriety and their security. If the nice thing with being in the facility with crisis observation and behavioral health, if there is a mental health crisis or a personal safety issue, there is the opportunity to refer them internally right to crisis observation or behavioral health urgent care, and they don't even have to leave the building. They don't have to go through another admission because we've already taken their information. It's a true partnership between Polk County Broadbonds and St. Vincent de Paul. So yeah, the majority of the individuals we served have not been involved with police. Only 170, a little bit less than 170 out of 535.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's another question. How did you get this off the ground?
Not really sure. This was 18 months of planning, revising scope of work after scope of work. This was visiting other sobering centers that were doing things really well. We were the only sobering center that we've toured, that I've toured that had community navigators, which I think is a real impactful opportunity to provide those additional services and benefits enrollment and referrals. We're also the only one that I'm aware of that provides transportation back to a safe place at no cost to the guest. So I think those two things really set us apart, with Des Moines continuing to sort of innovate and lead the way. Getting it off the ground was a ton of work. It was finding the right site director, finding the right medical director, getting the county and city council on board, getting the sheriff's department on board, getting the police department on board through a transition of chiefs. Fortunately, Des Moines has a lot of great elected leadership, a lot of dedicated individuals that are willing to find solutions and not just throw up walls. So a lot of community conversations. We did have some neighborhood meetings as well, to share with them where we were going and why we were doing things. We building that foundation of buy-in, finding the right leadership, putting the right structure in place. We've got 35 EMTs and paramedics that rotate through during a week. And we're always hiring. So if anybody knows EMTs and paramedics looking, that's one of those things where we're always hiring EMTs and paramedics. And we learned early on too, we had to be very, very competitive with the wages for those positions because they are overnight. And we thought, oh, maybe this will be a nice change from the ambulance. But, we had to incentivize the right people with, some experience to join the EMT and paramedic roles of the sobering center. An individual right out of EMT or paramedic school probably wouldn't be the right hire at a facility like this. So.
There are a couple other questions. Does a component of the center also entail relapse prevention? So could an individual show up sober and stay there for 23 hours because they do not want to relapse?
So they have to be intoxicated on some substance for admission. Whether now somebody could walk in stone sober for assessment and stay probably for an hour, but then we would try to get them back home, and unless like I said, unless there was a mental health crises or a self-harm scenario where we need to make a referral inside the facility. Yeah, I think that relapse prevention is something that we're aware of and working towards. We know that's a big gap in the community still. We know detox is a big gap in the community still. I think this is just step one, really, for what Polk County is hoping to accomplish. And I know there's a lot of great organizations providing some additional services as well. So.
Another question is, what were some other programs that you toured that you felt were doing a really good job?
GuideLink in Iowa City is a great facility. We were very fortunate that they did open their doors to us one at a time for individual tours and meeting with their site director. They're a little bit different than our site. There's not the navigators or the transportation, but there is a sobering center. They get about 2 to 3 individuals a day. So it's a lower volume. Of course, Johnson County is smaller than Polk, but lower volume. And then they do also have a behavioral health urgent care and what they call, it's not a crisis observation center, but it's what they call a suicide prevention center, where people can check themselves in for up to 72 hours, or they can be, ordered by the court there. So they have, the way they lead the organization, the way they treat the guests with dignity and respect and conversation, the focus on safety. That's where we really learned some great learnings about having the right site director, about, the importance of all the facility being safe, anti-ligature, in all of the restrooms and all of the facilities and all the medical testing rooms. And then in Houston as well, there was a great sobering center. It was strictly a sobering center. It was much larger. It held about 20 individuals at a time, so about twice our size. But that's a really well-run facility as well, and just great people there.
Mm-hmm. Another question, are any medications provided while in the sobering center, such as Ativan, Zofran, etc.?
Not at this point. Right now, we're not dispensing any we don't want it to be viewed as a medical center. We want it to be viewed as a crisis intervention center. So medical treatment, although we do have EMTs, paramedics, and of course an MD as our medical director, we leave all the medical treatment to the ER. So if someone was to go, into a situation like that, an ambulance will be called and they'd be brought to the ER.
Mhm. Okay. Jesse asked, I know that Randy will take care of us here in Des Moines, but for everyone else, where can we get flyers and information to put in houses and recovery centers?
Yeah, I can either Randy or I can email you the electronic flyer, Katrina, and feel free to distribute
Yep,
uh, to the list.
I'm happy to do that.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, and locally, Randy's got all the resources for us. So,
Yep, I'm happy to do that.
what other questions might people have? I think it's important to note that as we move forward with the Sobering Center, just a little bit of a broad picture of what St. Vincent de Paul is working towards in Des Moines. I think, we're just celebrating our 100-year anniversary. And I think for the first 90 years, people thought this is where we stop for food and for financial assistance. And we've really tried to shift to address unmet community needs. So we have the 2 food pantries now. We have our prisoner reentry program immersion that you all are probably familiar with. We have our back to work workforce training program. That's a 2-week training program with 1 year of follow-up once they're in job placement with the participant as well as their employer partner. And then some adult basic education like financial literacy and healthy relationships at home and work and digital literacy. And we really saw the Sobering Center as our next place to address those unmet community needs. So we've grown from a staff of 7 10 years ago to a staff of 134 this morning. From one location, we're opening our 4th thrift store in Ankeny on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock if anybody's a bargain shopper. So really working to address those unmet community needs and please keep my contact information, Randy's contact information, and we're happy to jump in, help provide resources wherever we can.
Mm-hmm. I thank you so much for this service for the community. There have been a couple occasions here in Des Moines. I don't live too far from the center, and there have been 2 occasions. The first occasion, someone was definitely in crisis and was really struggling, and I didn't know what to do. And so I sat with the person. I asked for family members, if they had a phone. I asked all the questions I could think of. I got them water. And it all came down to I ordered them an Uber, and I had a very upfront conversation with the Uber driver and said, this person is in crisis. The person didn't want to go to Broadlands. They wanted to go to a specific care center. And so, I had never met the Uber driver, but I gave her my personal cell phone number and I got hers. And I just made sure that she kept in contact with me and took him where he wished to go. Again, that dignity that you mentioned. But had we had the Sobering Center, I could have taken him right up to you all. So it's definitely a need. And I just thank you so much. And I remember one time Shelley Seitz and I toured St. Vincent de Paul with Randy. And Randy, didn't you tell us about like the Vinnie's Club or something to do with motorcycles in St. Vincent de Paul or something? And I'm like, I want a patch on a leather jacket and be in the Vinnie Club. Or did I dream that? I don't know.
I think you dreamt it. I do think it's a good idea for patches.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
we can put Jesse in charge of motorcycle patches.
I was just going to say, Jesse,
Yeah.
you got a new assignment. Okay, let me see.
And I
Um,
think what it was is we went from St. Vincent de Paul to Vinny's.
yes,
Yeah.
That's what it was.
that's right. And I probably was like, oh, we should start a motorcycle club.
Right.
All right. Another good question. Does Mobile Crisis bring clients in and work with the program?
Absolutely. We partner closely with Mobile Crisis and Sergeant Garcia, and you know all the key services, especially in the neighborhoods surrounding the sobering center and the life services center. Yeah, Mobile Crisis is a great partner and a great service to the community. Yeah. And it's important to know, a lot of people hear St. Vincent de Paul. There's no religious requirement for any of our programs, for any of our services or opportunities. We want everyone, the three things we want to focus on is everyone, when they walk in the door, but they feel safe, they feel welcome, and they feel dignity. Um, so any other questions at all? Sorry, everybody might get 20 minutes of their day back.
You know what? I do have one question. Is St. Vincent de Paul all throughout the state?
So St. Vincent de Paul's an international organization, but in Iowa, we have locations in Des Moines is our largest. We have a smaller operation in Dubuque, pretty small operation in Davenport, then one that is in Omaha that is fairly large that sort of, leaks over to Council Bluffs. So um, there's additional services elsewhere, but the St. Vincent de Paul Des Moines is about the seventh largest St. Vincent de Paul in North America now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I had the privilege of serving on the national board of directors for St. Vincent de Paul for 3.5 years, and served as the head executive director for North America as well for that during that time. And it was a great learning opportunity and opportunity to expand our immersion and back to work program. And prior to opening, we did invite leaders from all over the country within the St. Vincent de Paul network prior to opening and completion of the sobering center to come tour the facility and share what the vision was for it when it opened, and which is a great opportunity as well.
Mhm. I recently attended, and we will have Jerry Evans with us later on, but I recently attended a Polk County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting, and Randy and another woman were there, and they talked about, was it the immersion program, Randy? Do you want to share a little bit more about that, either Randy or Steve?
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about immersion and then the reentry center at the Polk County Jail that's forthcoming in partnership with Polk County again?
Absolutely.
Great.
So our immersion program, and thank you everybody for the kind comments. The immersion program is like the first step to a second chance. We have 8 components we try to focus on, but basically we let the person we're working with drive, because we don't want to have them feel re-victimized or re-institutionalized. And we can help with all the basic needs, as Steve mentioned, with the pantry services, et cetera. But we do kind of go that extra step through an amazing partnership with the DOT. We can get IDs, birth certificates. We are an approved proctor for the written DOT test. So people don't have to go through that anxiety of going to the DOT with the mass people, and they can do it here in my office with me. If they have reading issues, we just read it to them. There's like 27 languages they can take it in. We have expanded to going into the pods at the jail every week, which is expanded our reach to 100 additional unique individuals every month. And then the biggest thing going on that I'm super excited about is through the sheriff in Polk County and Steve's amazing negotiations skills. We are actually going to have a kiosk at the Polk County Jail. So 100% wraparound. They come in, they meet with me. I'm going to be able to enroll them in programs or give them direct referrals to other places. When I meet with them in the pods, they get out, they're going to stop and meet with myself or whoever our navigator is there. And when they walk out of the jail, they will have barriers released or know that things can be done immediately with a follow-up meeting. So it's a warm handoff from a cell to a community program with unimaginable resources, unlimited resources. So I think that's scheduled to start maybe construction in July. As far as I'm concerned, I just need a hot spot in the desk and we can start tomorrow. But sorry, Steve. But yeah, so stay tuned on that. I look for that to be bigger and better. Again, telling people about the sobering center. I do know that on the topic of the sober center, that the jail also has flyers on the sober center that they are sending with people who are frequent flyers on in-talks and different things to encourage them to ask law enforcement to take them there. So we do have great collaboration with law enforcement.
Well, thank you all for the time and the great questions, and Katrina for organizing this. And
it was a whole bunch of us. It was not me.
So, well, thank you very much for the opportunity and the support. And like I said, please keep my contact. Feel free to reach out. And yeah, appreciate everything that everyone does.